Hi, this is Denise Killian with Trainertainment, and welcome to Think Tank Thursday. It's the day we ask everybody to take just a few minutes out of their hectic and busy schedules and sit back and think about an issue or a problem or the opportunity to learn something new. Of course, we couldn't bring Think Tank Thursday to you without our sponsors, so we'd like to take a moment to thank them for all that they do to help us bring you Think Tank Thursday each and every week. Today, we're going to talk about an issue that's probably on a lot of your minds. It's recruiting. How do you do it? Should I hire an outside firm? Should I do it from myself, from within? It's a struggle and it is a challenge that is time consuming and sometimes often costly. So today we're going to talk to Diana Willis, who owns her own recruiting firm, about the best practices for recruiting, about what kind of candidates you should be looking for, and information that can help you make the right decisions for and right fit for your next hire. So I can't wait for you to meet Miss Diana Willis. Diana, thank you so much for being on Think Tank Thursday.
Thank you, Denise, for having me. I'm so excited. This is my first think tank, so I'm just delighted to be here. So thank you.
Good. We'll be easy on you, I promise.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about recruiting, which is such an essential part for any business to continue to grow and to maintain excellence. And it is something that a lot of people struggle with, recruiting. So Diana, start us off by telling us about your company and what you do and how you started it.
Sure. So American Search International is a recruiting company. It was started back in 1995, and I really kind of fell into it with the way that I was brought up. I grew up in a military family. Most people would call that a military brat. So I traveled and learned the lifestyle. And so when I was given the opportunity to step into this role years ago for a smaller company, I decided to jump on it. As I mentioned, I grew up in a military family. And so after college, I was in that sales arena. And so I feel like naturally I fell into this role. And like you guys, I love people. I love helping people. I love helping companies. And like you said, one of the focuses that we have really honed in over the last probably 25 years is helping veterans as they transition out of the military into different roles, management roles, engineering roles, sales roles. And it's been a really good fit. So that's the basis of what we do.
So you have quite an extensive history with recruiting and finding people. You know, it's a challenge that so many people in every industry have of we've got this opening and what do we do? How do we fill it? And I want to talk a little bit about changing the narrative around recruiting. I think right now people are there's a narrative that in a lot of articles and a lot of, the great resignation and the that people don't want to work and there's no good candidates out there. Is that true?
That is not true. I'm sure that's probably what a lot of HR managers or business owners have run into over the last several years. I will say that since COVID, the dynamics of recruiting and hiring have definitely changed.
So how has that change impacted what people go through?
Yeah. So from the HR perspective, what we have found is that their roles have, I think, enlarged by what they do. They're not only doing recruiting, but they're doing benefits. They're doing everything now. Before, I think they had a recruiting department, or a lot of companies did have recruiters that did that portion for them. And now it's been slimlined. So they're trying to do all the things. And of course, the most important thing that happens with their day is the people that show up in front of them. And so I think what they have found is that the recruiting part of it and what we've been able to do has kind of taken that load off of them, in the sense that they don't have to spend hours daily trying to fill positions by screening and vetting candidates that probably 90% of the time are not qualified for the positions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a lot of companies now engage in sort of an AI recruiting process where you have to fill out a form and then it just looks for certain keywords and spits out people that don't meet the right keywords.
Yes,
is that concerning for both businesses and applicants?
it is, for the mere fact that there's never going to be a perfect resume. And I think what you're going to find is if that's the only thing you're relying on, you're going to miss a lot of really great folks that are definitely qualified that maybe didn't write that perfect resume. And so we are able to be that link and that bridge between candidates and, hiring managers. And one of the things that we love to do is when we've been working with companies for a while, you get to know the hiring managers, you get to know their personalities, you get to know the culture. And so I think what happens is we're able to go out and do all of that screening and then some. Then when we present the candidates to them, they're ready to go. They're ready to interview. They're ready, they're ready. They have everything they need. So the managers are spending that time that they do have, which is so vital in everything that they do, really getting to know the candidates, and really getting to know how they can be an asset and what they're bringing to the table when they are hired.
Right. Because that's something that, it can feel overwhelming when you're the hiring manager because you're still doing all your other jobs, right? You're still managing your department or if you're the GM, you're still managing the building, or if you're the owner, you're filling in, and there's so much going on. You've got your staff, and of course, there's lots of interactions and daily accountabilities that have to be met there for your staff, for the customers, and just doing the paperwork and the administrative stuff. There's a lot. And then when you add on, oh, now you have to hire somebody, it feels overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, like for instance, Sonia and I were recently working with a client. They're owners and operators doing all of the things. They're doing the GM portion, the hiring, the ordering, everything. And you just get to a point when business is growing that you just can't do it all. And so by bringing someone in that's qualified and has the years of experience to do that for you, it alleviates that. And the blessing on the backside of that is we can do it very quickly and still get you the best candidate or candidates possible for you to sit down and meet with. And that's the key. I think what we have found over the last year is that our cycle for getting someone fully screened and vetted is roughly around 2 weeks, could be less depending on, the owner operator schedule. And then on the backside of that, depending on their schedule and when they can actually sit down and interview. But I would say anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. And that's a really quick turnaround.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And, there's value. Talk about the value of having somebody else, if you have 300 applicants, gosh, that's going to take forever to go through and to whittle down into your top 5 or top 10. What value is there of having somebody outside of your company, like a recruiter, come in and handle that piece for you?
I mean, from our client's perspective, I think the value is great. I think the resources that we have in place with the years that we've been doing this really whittle down that number, and really bring us to the quality of candidates that we are vetting and screening daily. And I think that's the key, is that you're not placing an ad and then screening and going through 300 resumes a day, right? Because who has time for that?
Nobody.
And so we're stepping in and we're eliminating all of that. And like I said, with the sources that we have in place and with the years of experience, and the referrals that we get, that has really helped out in the time, on the time portion of it, and helping us get candidates in quickly.
Yeah. And having those positions filled, because we all know when you've got an open position, you needed that filled yesterday.
Right.
Because even if you hire somebody today, there's training, there's onboarding. It's going to take a minute for that person to get situated and into a place where they can actually do the job. And all of that costs money, right? In terms of the work that's being done or not getting done, the extra hours, the overtime for other people to fill in, that costs money. I mean, there's research out there that talks about replacing a position is like almost half of the salary that you're paying to replace that position by the time you work through all of those processes. So speed is of the essence. Of the faster that you're able to do it, the faster they're ready to get going.
Right. And I think, too, one of the things that we love to remind hiring managers or owners is that their time is valuable. And the time that they spend doing these other things could be done by doing, by resourcing that out, basically, or sourcing that out. And that's the thing, like there is a cost up front to have that done. But at the end of the day, I would probably venture to go back and say that all of the managers or owners that have hired from us would tell you that it was a service well paid for and then some.
Yeah.
Because they can get on to running their businesses, doing what they do well, and letting us fill that for them in a really short amount of time with the perfect candidates.
Right. Now, the perfect candidate, do they exist?
I think they do. But I think client is different, right? And that's the importance of knowing and understanding the culture and the values of the companies, the owners, what they're looking for. And really, at the end of the day, just finding that perfect personality fit, right? I think every owner has that perfect candidate. And hopefully, even if they don't see it initially, they think that someone's got 95% of it. That other 5% comes along once they're in that position and they're doing what they do well.
Right. So if you're a candidate, you're looking for a new job, what are the best tips you can give people that are out there searching for a job right now?
To know your value and to know what you want to do. I think sometimes because we have so many outside distractions telling us who we are, what we're good at, what we're not good at. Sometimes I think we lose ourselves in all of that. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to know your assets, what you bring to the table, and how you can add value to the employer that you're interviewing with. And if it's a good match, you're going to know it. And if it's not, you're going to know that as well. And I would say this, be flexible, be open, because sometimes you can go in and interview. Like we had a situation last year with a couple of owners in the entertainment industry, and they wanted to hire a GM. We sent them 2 candidates. They loved both of them. So they ended up hiring one for a GM role and the other one for an AGM role. Both candidates extremely happy and qualified for the roles that they were hired in. So be flexible.
And that's something that, I think one of the greatest lessons I've learned sort of through my years is be yourself.
Yes.
Because
important.
Yeah, like this is who I am. You want to know immediately if it's going to work for me with you and you with me. And if you are, because it's going to come out eventually. And if there is a conflict in leadership styles and management styles and personalities, it's much worse if you get into a position or you hire somebody and then, everything changes and nobody's happy. And that causes, kind of even more issues is the be yourself.
Right. And I would say this too, as the sprinkles on the cupcake, as the old saying goes, is get excited about yourself. If you don't get enthusiastic about yourself, don't expect the hiring managers or their owners to do that. Right? You've got to come to the table. You've got to be enthusiastic. You've got to have the right attitude, and you've got to want the position. Even if it doesn't happen, you leave feeling good and knowing that you left it all on the table.
Yep. During an interview, what are you looking for? What are you scoping out and using all of this experience you have to kind of read into that person? What are you looking for?
Well, for starters, experience is always key. When we're dealing with veterans, it's a little bit different because they come with a lot of paperwork. They come with a lot of recs. They come with a lot of write-ups about their history in the military. And so we get a lot of information coming to us at the very beginning. But I would say this, that and kind of like what you said, be yourself. I like to get down to the nitty gritty. I really like to have conversations with candidates and really get to know what makes them tick. Mm-hmm. I want to know what's going to bring them to work every day, what's going to get them enthusiastic, why this industry as opposed to that industry. Are you ready to have some fun? Because life is short. And if you don't enjoy where you're going and who you're doing it with, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
And so as I'm getting to know candidates and as we're screening and vetting, those are the important things to me, is just really getting to know these candidates and who they are. And really, because at the end of the day, I want to make sure if I'm presenting a candidate or a veteran to a company, I want to make sure that they are qualified so that I'm not wasting owners and hiring managers' time, because like we know their time is really valuable. Mm-hmm. So do a lot of homework up front, get to know our candidates extremely well. The blessing in working with Trainertainment, as I said, is that you guys know some of the companies really, really well because you have years of experience in working with them and so forth. One of the things that we're able to do, which I really love, is that we can screen them and vet them and set up those screening calls, but we're also administering the Kolbe test. And that's in conjunction with what we're doing. So that kind of just solidifies that good match on the back end before we submit them to hiring managers or owners. And I love that. That's a new thing for me, but it's worked out really, really well.
So I'm quite familiar with the Kolbe, but tell us, for those that are watching that maybe aren't familiar with Kolbe, it's a personality assessment, but it's more about leadership and interactions, right?
So my takeaway from that, Kolbe, and what has been shared with me, because I personally haven't taken the test, so you may have more insight to that. But one of the things that I know is that we're trying to align, like you said, personality matches with whom they're going to be working for, right? Because we don't want to put someone that's high energy with somebody that's low energy and laid back, right? Or maybe we do when we want to find a halfway medium, right? But I think at the end of the day, we're trying to match leadership with leadership abilities before they get there so that we don't have that tug once they're on board and their feet are on the ground.
Right. Like two of the assessments that Kolbe looks at is fact finder, or kind of just go off the cuff.
Right.
And so if somebody is a big fat, like they have to know all of the information before they can move forward. If they're like a 9 on that scale and they're working and reporting with someone who is like a 1, who is just, I don't need information. Let's just figure it out. We don't need a plan. Let's just go. That's probably not going to be a good fit.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I don't, just so you know, I don't assess or administer that test done on Trainertainment's part. But I'm all on board on how it works because we've had a lot of success. And so that tells me a lot. And I know Beth and Sonia and the rest of you have used it and you know that it works well.
Yeah.
And so if it works well, we're going to run with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's finding that right fit, right?
Yeah.
And off the cuff is good. There's nothing bad with it. Having information is good. There's nothing bad with it. But when you've got multiple people, you want to balance.
Yeah. And I will say that we have placed several that have not taken the Kolbe test, and they did extremely well, and the reports have been really good. I always go back to my companies and my hiring managers to make sure that everything is still going really well. And my candidates are typically the ones that reach out first and say, man, I love this. Like you, I think, worked with a new hire recently here in Dallas, and they were so excited that they were going to be training and working with you that following day. They let me know that. So there's always that interaction and follow up on the backside, which I think is really important too. Because I'm in it for the long haul with all of our clients and customers, because I don't want this to be like a one time. If a company hires a GM and then they've got a sales and business development role, and we can help them with that, we'd love that. And if we hit the mark on the first time, more than likely we can do that again and again. Yeah. So and really at the end of the day, we want to help business owners build their business because ultimately that's what they're in it for.
Yeah. And getting the right leaders and the right fits and that works with their culture and what they're trying to do is very important.
Yes, and works with their customers well, really, because we want every customer that leaves these establishments to leave feeling like that's the best experience ever, and they want to come back. And that starts from here all the way down, right?
Yep. What is your go-to question? Putting you on the spot here a little bit. What is your go-to question in an interview?
So, the typical is tell me about yourself.
Right.
My typical is tell me what you like to do to have fun. It's an icebreaker and it does catch people off board, but it kind of sets the tone in a different way. So they don't feel like they're in that cutthroat interview. You know what I'm saying? And trying to give me the best answer. I really, at the end of the day, really try to get to know my candidates. I want to know, who they are, what they love to do, why they think they're going to be great in this position. What do they have to offer these companies that they're going to work for? And I think it starts there and we can build up from there, because I've got their resumes and we can all day long, we can go through their resumes and ask them about their job history. But at the end of the day, I really want to get to know who they are and what they love and what they enjoy in life. And then we can build up from there and talk about their resume and their work history. And so
that's great. I like that because I wouldn't expect that question. When I'm going in for an interview, I wouldn't expect that. So I love that question.
Yesterday it threw a candidate off, and that's okay because it kind of just reset the tone. And I think just really maybe put him at ease a little bit more so that he could just open up and be himself. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we want. We don't want somebody trying to be somebody else or trying to figure out what all the right answers are. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if we don't get to know who they really are, we may be missing the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Diana, how can people find out about working with you or learning more about you?
Diana, Diana Willis, Willis, A for American Search, S is in search, and I is in international. So Diana Willis, ASI @gmail.com.
Right. Fantastic.
Or two, just in case. It's 817-919-3310. And I am here in the DFW area, but we work nationwide. So there's no area that we can't help you in.
Fantastic. Well, Diana, thank you so much for being here. Our time is up, unfortunately, but recruiting is such an important part of businesses, and it's a struggle. So thanks for sharing your insight and giving some people some ideas on how to make that process a little bit better. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. And it's an honor and a blessing to do what we do for both sides of the house, right? It's a blessing to work with veterans who have served our country. We love being able to give back to them. We also like introducing them to wonderful companies and owners and operators out there as well. So it's a win-win. So thank you so much for having me today, Denise. It's been a pleasure.
Well, I hope you got a lot of information out of that. I know I certainly did. Hiring is one of the most important challenges that we face as leaders and owners, and getting the right person and the right fit within your own culture is so essential for the success of your business. So appreciate Diana and all of her insights and what she has to offer in the world of recruiting. That brings an end to our Think Tank Thursday for this week. But before we go, of course, we want to thank our sponsors for what they do and allowing us to bring Think Tank Thursday to you. If you have any thoughts about Think Tank Thursday, or if you'd like to be a guest, we want to hear from you. Just reach out to candy@trainertainment.net and we'll get something set up. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time and have a great day.